Hello. How are you guys? Once again, I am coming to you from this ranch. I really think, I keep saying this, that this is the last time I'll be in this particular room, to call it the gathering room. Next week, we'll gather in another room, but it's all in the cloud anyway. So we can always, someone besides Wendy from Guelph, Ashley, Catherine was here first. Woo! And Linda Gribke, hello from, ooh, is that Wyoming? No, West Virginia. Yeah. Hello. Hi, all the way from Sydney, Adrienne and Tiffany from New Zealand. I love our Pacific Isle folk. Hello from New Jersey, coming your way. Teresa in Andover, Nicole in Massachusetts, Florence from Pennsylvania. Yay, Jessica from California. Woo! Carol, how you doing this morning, Carol Bonneville? You delicious woman. Donna, you got in ahead of Wendy. Psych! Wendy's off sick or something. Hi, Sophie from Australia. Oh, is that a sheep? Cottage Grove, Wisconsin. We've got a puppy named Karen from Wisconsin is joining us, which is very advanced for a puppy. From France, Helene, welcome. We're so honored. Look at this. Continents are connected right here. Cape Town, South Africa. 1, 2, 3 continents. Wait. We've got Australia. We've got, is New Zealand part of the continent of Australia? No, it's just an island. And we've got Europe, and we've got Africa. 3 different continents at least. Yeah. Ooh. And then also Illinois.
I run that.
Illinois.
Represent. Oh, Taiwan.
Oh, fun. Taiwan. There we go with Asia. Woo!
And scene.
All right. We've got 143 people from at least 4 continents. It is time. Sorry, I'm so heavily lit from behind. It makes me look like I'm like, woo! Go toward the light, people. Actually, that's a pretty good image for what I want to talk about, because when you're moving, as I am, like if you could see my house, literally everything is either sitting out waiting to be boxed or already in boxes. And I take the dogs for walks, and it's this place is so magical, you guys. It is such an enchanted forest. I can't even tell you. And I'm going to another enchanted forest, but here's the thing about the arrow of time. Have you heard this concept? Physicists talk about what a strange thing it is that the arrow of time is the only thing in our universe that doesn't appear to be symmetrical, because everything's always slip sliding away. We remember the past. In terms of the physics of the way reality works, there should be no reason for time not to run both directions. Like there should be there should be extropy as well as entropy, as well as everything falling apart. There should be a way to go back on the arrow of time and see things coming back together again. But there isn't. We're in this weird, at least in our reality, the way we perceive it, there's the past and there's the present, but the future we don't see. So we tend to think of things in terms of losing them, and we are always losing them. And when a time comes to make a major shift, someone dies, somebody moves, it feels like life is just made up of losses. I just was quoting a poem from Stanley Kunitz, which says, I have gathered myself a tribe out of my true affections. I have made myself a tribe out of my true affections, and my tribe is scattered. How shall my heart be reconciled to its feast of losses? And I've thought of that a lot over the years, because we are always losing things. We're always losing something. And sometimes it feels like a feast of losses. But as you know, we who do the Byron Katie work and all you Wayfinder coaches out there, it's a mental habit of ours to flip everything, to turn it around. And so I was thinking, where everything's slip sliding away and we can't remember the future the way we can remember the past. And then I said, but is that necessarily true? And I thought about the fact that things are always slip sliding in toward us. We never go into nothing. Something new always arises. And furthermore, I think we do have a hidden ability to remember time in both directions. And I've experienced this many, many times. It used to be that I didn't trust it when I was young, but I've now had many, many experiences of checking it. And I know the difference between fantasizing about a future and premembering it, as I like to say. That was coined by someone who came to one of my seminars once. She said, I premember things. So it's like memory, but it's forward. I was in meditation yesterday, and I realized that once I got to a place of complete calm, which took about 25 minutes, suddenly I felt the future sliding in. I didn't just feel the past sliding away. And I sat there because I was very quiet, and I was able to, I had an hour, free to watch it, which is a huge luxury of not having small children or a job. So good luck, y'all. I was able to just sit and watch it, and I realized that there's a different feeling to a pre-memory. That is something that is actually coming to pass, and something that is just a fantasy. First, I forgot this. Here's how I think this works. Most of us exists in time and in a universe where entropy is always creating disorganization, everything's falling apart. Because the universe is chaotic and chaos creates new forms, there are also new forms being developed, but ultimately everything falls apart. That is, what is that, the first law or second law of second dynamics? I think it's the second law of thermodynamics. Anyway, if I'm wrong, let me know. But I was thinking about the fact that part of us lives in that universe and part of us is situated in eternity. And eternity, I think I've mentioned this before, doesn't mean endless time. It means outside of time. In eternity, everything's present. So, I've also probably talked about how when I read about Albert Einstein riding a trolley car away from a clock in his city in Vienna, it occurred to him that if the train sped up to the speed of light, then the photons coming off the clock would always be the same photon reaching his eye, right? And so because he would only see that one burst of light, because he'd be moving at the same speed as those photons, he would never see the clock change. And that was the way he explained to my lame brain why time stops at the speed of light. And it also means that you can be anywhere in the universe at the same time if you're at the speed of light, because that's how it goes. Now, every mystical tradition, every single one, the shamanistic traditions, the Middle Eastern-based religions, the Asian religions, they all independently came up with the idea that light is what we're essentially made of. And that whatever the higher power of the universe is, it's light. So it's perfectly possible for a light part of us to exist in all places and in all times outside of time. And then the river of entropy would be flowing through us, but we'd also be able to see the whole future. So I think it's the ability to tap into that which is eternal in ourselves. And I've talked to you many times, you guys, about how your atoms are turning over every 7 years, but there's a consciousness in you that it remembers being 10 years younger than you are now, even though none of your atoms were present. So it's the consciousness that exists in eternity. And when you drop into pure consciousness, the way this happened to me on my meditation cushion yesterday was I was using the mantra, I am, which was suggested by one of my favorite Indian dudes. And I was just repeating, I am, I am, I am. And suddenly I got this major memory of the future with a lot of things happening. And with it came a sensation that I was able to watch, and I wanted to communicate it to you guys. It is the difference, if you've ever had someone as a friend and then got to know them, got to like them, and then fallen in love with them. So it's not like sex at first sight, but it's a friendship that turns and becomes romantic. That extra thing that comes into a romance is the exact feeling of a pre-memory that is true. And I've always been afraid to accept them, because just like when you fall in love, you really want the person that you're in love with. You don't want anything else. You don't want to like say, oh, there are plenty of fish in the sea. You actually want that person. And if they don't love you back, that'll be a huge loss. Well, I realize that's what I've been doing with a lot of the images I get of the future. And I decided I'm just going to go allow myself to believe that the things that feel this way are true. I'm just gonna play with that. When I came to this ranch, which I'd seen in my mind's eye for 20 years, I didn't know why I was here. I didn't know. I just knew I was supposed to be here. And when I came on the grounds and saw it, and then went back to Phoenix where I was living, I had the very odd experience of feeling like I was in love with a piece of earth. Like I didn't just love it. It was literally like a romantic relationship kind of feeling. I mean, I didn't have any like pervy thoughts about what I wanted to do with the ranch, but there was that romantic love feeling. That was, and it felt, to make it even weirder, it felt like that was reciprocated. It felt like the land was loving me back. And I came out here and literally had a romantic affair with the land. And if you want to know what I did, it wasn't that pervy. It's all in my novel, Diana Herself. That's where I wrote it down, because it had to be a novel. Nobody would accept this as nonfiction. And it was a piece of land showing, a piece of forest showing me myself and mothering me and waking me up. And I felt it again 2 days ago. I went out, I was walking, and I was feeling a little sad and uncertain about the future. And I stopped on the road, and I said, okay, so if there is a power taking care of me, go for it. I'm yours. First thing happened was a horse that I've walked past a trillion times, never paid the slightest attention to me, came like trotting up to me from a long way away across a pasture. I was near a pasture. And this horse comes running up to me and stops. And I went up and he started giving me horse kisses and nuzzling my face. And I said, well, that's pretty good. And then I turned around and I said, but that could be a coincidence. And a huge hawk burst out of a tree in front of me, flew right across my line of sight, and then went up into a tree and sat there and watched me. And if you know Rowan Mangan, who's my trusty beloved sidekick, and so much more. She calls hawks guardians. That she feels like when they're watching her, it's to guard her. Whoops, this is very unstable because it's on packing boxes. So what I wanted to say, you guys, is, you know, sometimes I do these little meditations or whatever. If we allow ourselves to fall in love with our futures, thank you, Alexa. She says Diana was nonfiction. It struck my heart. I wrote it for you, Alexa, and for you, Jessica, for you, everybody. So sorry, that name came up, but you guys couldn't see it. So what I was thinking is that the problem is that we imagine what we think is logical and what we've already experienced. And for that reason, we reiterate it. The future is very responsive to our imagination, and we tend to try to play it safe. And we imagine things that feel doable, or we imagine with such magical thinking that it just feels a little ungrounded. Thank you, Sandy. People are saying nice things. Oh, sorry, I'm being told not to stop. Okay, so thanks, tech support. What I want y'all to do now is get yourselves as comfortable as you can, get relaxed. Think of something that if it happened in the future, it would feel like a first kiss with someone you were in love with. That feeling of, there's fear involved in a kind of a butterfly way, But there's so much passion, there's so much desire, there's a sensuousness. The earth wants us to live abundantly. That's what Jesus said. He said, I come to give you life more abundantly. And he didn't mean more money. He meant feeling life, experiencing it, tasting it. And when we let ourselves imagine the way we imagine falling in love, we create those futures. Because the things we fall in love with are also falling in love with us. But this power of human imagination to step into eternity, to feel what's passionately there for us, and to dare to imagine it, even though our hearts may be broken, that can create the future. And we're the only animal that knows how to do that, so far as I know. Though I have my suspicions about dolphins, I'll tell you that. Anyway, so I want you to do it right now. Get really relaxed and comfortable. Feel something that would feel like a first kiss that could happen in your future that you haven't let yourself really long for. And have a fantasy of it being there that is a fantasy for the sake of its own pleasure. So again, we're sort of teetering toward the sexual arena. People have sexual fantasies, not just because of things they want to happen in real life, but because for some people, the fantasy itself is enjoyable. That's the way to imagine a future. And with the same type of connection, a sensuous, loving, tender, passionate, wonderful connection. So just think of one item. I have seen, what I saw yesterday was myself working on my second novel, the follow-up to Diana herself. And I saw it in a certain room at a certain time. There was certain furniture in the room. There was a certain rug on the floor. And I just went into that fantasy. And I started to feel an energy like a river rushing through me, like a waterfall almost. And by the time I got up off my meditation mat, I knew that this is going to happen. I don't even bother worrying anymore when I get that feeling. This is what happened the day I knew I was supposed to be a writer who wrote books that people read for fun. It's the day I imagined having this ranch. It's the day I've imagined having so many things. So whatever your thing is, if you can't find it, keep looking. And spend time with that every day for its own sake and because it creates a future. And now I will take questions if you have any about this. I'm talking kind of about the secret, imagine it and it happens. But what I'm asking you to do is fine tune it and look for that feeling of a romantic zing. I'm just adding that to the pool and then really loitering in that pre-memory, really enjoying it for itself. The more you enjoy a premonition for itself, the more vividly and quickly you create it. I firmly believe that. So Karen, the sweet puppy, says, what if you're feeling excited about many things that put out these giddy feelings, things that haven't come to fruition? Is that fantasy or pre-memory? It could be either one, but here's what I think. I think that I have given up many times on things that I thought had basically the warranty ran out on my fantasy. It wasn't going to happen. Okay, put it away. And then bang, it happened. Or it happened a year later. We don't always know when these things will happen, and we get so impatient and so bound in time and so attached to the idea that we will be disappointed. We have a strong attachment to that. It's based on every time we didn't get what we wanted, which are many. So the trick here is to continue to enjoy the premonition without concern whether your heart will be broken ultimately or not. Generally, it's when you get very relaxed that the thing comes into fruition. One thing I like to say is that magic is all around us, like the water vapor in the air, like on a humid day. And if you don't know this, you know how water, when it gets hot enough, becomes steam. So when the steam in the surrounding air gets cool, it turns into liquid water, and then dew appears everywhere, on every leaf, every blade of grass. Well, and that's called the dew point, the point where the steam that we can't see becomes the water that we can see. And I like to say the dew point of magic is normal. When we've lived in a pre-memory so deeply and without attachment, like enjoying the premonition for itself, that it becomes normal, it manifests. Boom. If we don't normalize it, it's difficult for it to come. So, and weirdly, the more you have fun with the premonition, the more likely it is to be real. And it's fun for itself. The whole thing should feel like the process of falling in love, including all the passionate imaginings that you have before you actually clinch the deal, so to speak. So any more questions on technique for manifestation? How do we access that place when we're just all over the place, depression style? Oh, Lord, you are so speaking my language, Maria. What you do then is you reach for what I do. I lie down, can't sit up for meditation when I'm depressed. That's just too hard. And what I do is I go into my heart looking for comfort. I'm not looking for a passionate affair. I'm looking for a pair of loving arms to wrap around me. That's what happened the other day when the horse and the hawk came. I was feeling sad and I needed that kind of connection. It happened to come from around me because I was outside, but it can happen just as much in the dark of night in your own bed. If you focus, sorry, I've got a hair in my eye. If you focus deeply inside, it's like there's so much darkness, but remember that what is outside infinite is also inside infinite. You have infinitely small spaces you can go into. And down there, deep, 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 maybe just a tiny, tiny space that you have to go deep into the abyss to find it. There is a light. There is a light. And it says something like, sweetheart, put a blanket on. You're getting cold. And then if you respond to that, you let it be, and you pull a blanket over, it will tell you the next thing. Everything's really okay. Just breathe. So they do, okay, I'm going to breathe. I'm going to choose to believe that. And then it goes a step further and it says, try reading that book. So you pick up a book and you turn to a page and there's something that comforts you. That's how you build from despair back into hope. Yeah. So Trisha, hi there, honey. Okay, how do you give yourself permission to do this kind of imagining when it's a habit to stop short of really surrendering to it? This is what I think. You know, I'm all about being transparent, authentic, and open, but this is one place where I think you should have a secret. I once wrote an essay about bright secrets and dark secrets. Keep them, destroy us from within. A lot of us have been down that path, but there's such a thing as a bright secret. And a bright secret is the moment we hear something that is God speaking to us. A bright secret is like I had my white light experience when I was 28, didn't tell anyone, told my then husband, didn't really talk about it until maybe 10 years later. I felt like I was ready. And the fact that I was holding that for myself, hold it for yourself, build the fantasy for yourself and keep it a secret from everybody else and build this secret relationship, have an affair with the future you want in your own heart. And there's still the thought, oh, but if I love this and it goes away, I will have lost something. Sure, your heart could get broken that way. But the shaming and the criticism and the fear that comes from the people around you won't have a chance to get any traction. So if you don't feel safe around about volunteering your heart to strangers, don't do it. Have a bright secret, but go to it a lot. Enjoy it. Build it up. Catherine says, so many of these visions I have seem to include the financial means for it to happen. How can I dream free of the worry of paying for it? Me in a beautiful art studio. Okay, it's really common for us to think first about the money that we need to do anything because we are a completely money-obsessed society. I remember realizing over and over again that the things I thought I needed money for could come by like I could get large parts of the same experience without spending any money. So I also love art and have an art studio, or would love to have an art studio. I don't right now. But when I started thinking, oh, I would love an art studio, I co-opted a screen porch on our house that wasn't really being used for a lot of, I mean, it was being used, but not very much. And I just made myself a little miniature art corner. I put an easel there. You can put together an easel with a few dollars. I bought some canvas. I had very little money to spend on it, but I got in there and I started making paintings. And from that grew the ability to imagine a better situation. And that is so interesting, you guys. When you can imagine in this quality, I can't describe to you the quality of imagination, but you can, if you try it a few times, you'll see that there's a place where the future, the premonition has traction, and a place where it just feels like you're trying to climb a glass wall and nothing's really happening. Whenever I thought about the money, it was glass wall. Whatever is making things happen isn't that into money. But when I thought about the qualitative experience of being in my art studio, first I had ideas, then I had a few supplies, then I had opportunities for more. And that's how it always seems to go with me. You imagine from small to big. Gina says, how often do you repeat the process? Every damn day. Like every day, why not? If you, I spend time every day remembering things. Why not spend time every day knowing what will come in my future, or tasting? Feeling or tasting are better metaphors than seeing what will happen. I often do get visual images, but it's a taste, a feeling inside my body, in my skin, that is anticipating a future joy. So I spend time almost bathing in that pretty much every day. If I stop doing that, I tend to go into depression and anxiety, because if the future is unknown and it's only based on my little animal fears, it's too hard for me to face. If I have to go to the part of me that's in eternity, that can see things in the future, then I stay much more stable. So I do try to sit every day, and that's a big part of being still for me. Donna, hi. How can you keep the ego at bay when imagining seems focused on the praise of others or the adulation by superiors? Yeah, that's a really good question, because the things that come true for me are never coming from other human beings. That's really an interesting point, Donna. The need to please, the need to be praised, the need to be approved of, that I hadn't even thought of this. This is such a great question. It never happens, because we can't control other people's future. This is very profoundly yours to do. And then what happens is that other people get caught up in the beauty of it, because when you start going into these types of imaginings, they're so delicious and they're so full of love and wonder that when you do them, people follow you and people praise you and people give you things, and you're not doing it for that. But every human soul longs for that energy, for the energy that stands outside time in eternity and sees what is beautiful. It's always slip sliding toward us like a new beautiful vision. And yeah, it's actually saying, I don't care what the people around me think of it. I'm going to do this for me, for my own pleasure in the doing or the experiencing. Weirdly, that's when other people want to join us. Thank you for that question. That is a super fabulous question. So let's do just one more. I hope you guys try this as a practice after we get done here, because it's really, really fun. Okay, Roshan, what if you imagine your dreams and the opposite happens? Is that the universe telling you your dream is not right for you? It's another row, yeah. Sometimes it is. But for me, that's always happened when the dream itself didn't have this particular flavor of reality. And that's why I really wanted to talk about this today, because by years and years and years and years and years of doing it wrong and then doing it right, I feel like, oh my goodness, I kind of know what doesn't work and what does work. And what doesn't work is what Donna was just saying, doing things based on what the people around you think is wonderful, what your culture thinks is wonderful. I'm going to get this fancy car that'll make people look up to me. I'm going to lose 20 pounds, so I'm going to be so hot, and everybody will be, they'll want to be with me, or they'll want to be me, or anything that's focused on culture typically doesn't work for me. I have to go to my own true nature and see what would be good for this imagining animal that I am. What would I love to experience for myself? And then as I believe in that, I'm filled with such a joy that I can almost feel it bursting out of my ears. And then people seem to be drawn to that energy, not to me, but to that energy. It's our real energy. So in the end, yeah, you'll if you have a dream and it gets crushed, what you'll probably find over time is that had the dream happened, it would not have been ideal for you. And the future that was waiting for you, Joseph Campbell said, we must give up the life we have planned in order to have the life that is waiting for us. So I want you guys to imagine that. I want you to imagine every single thing that you've fallen in love with in the future, and realize that just as everything is always going past us in time, things are always flowing toward us in time. And while we have no real power to recreate the past, we can shape the future with our imaginations. We have a participatory part in creating what happens next. So go have an affair with your future, as Gina's saying. Have a secret, wonderful affair, or one that you have a party and invite all your friends and tell them how delicious it feels. Either way, it's a wonderful trip. And when the destination comes, you find out that the journey was half the pleasure, and that as that thing slides by, something even bigger is going to come to replace it. Everything is slip sliding toward us. Mwah! I'll see you next week. I hope from another place, but if not, it will be just as good. I love you. See you later.